Morning everybody. So today is a brown day. We very rarely talk about brown, but why not? Let's think about it for the weekend. So brown is floating. Floating is where you don't know what value you add, or you added no value. Now that's the thing that's going to give you nothing, take you back really quickly, as opposed to the red behavior, which will, if you do it too much, still take you back but not quite as quickly. Or the amber behavior, which keeps you, your people and your business where they are, or the green behavior that will take you forward and make things better. So I'm talking about brown. Brown is floating, and the story I'm going to tell you actually happens during a diary detox group discovery that I did with a company. So a bit of background, the CEO had done a personal diary detox and they liked it, and they said, I want you to do this to my exec team. So the first step was to do a diary detox group discovery before doing the full diary detox with them, just to see how good or bad or how much development could be achieved. And during that session, it took about 2 hours with them all in the room in a kind of seminar format. And in that session, we were talking about the categories, the green categories, the amber categories, and then we touched on the red coming into the brown. And one of the things that I picked up was that when we started talking through this stuff, there was a little bit of a murmuring around the room when we started talking about the red. And I asked what it was, and they said, well, we've been asked to do a task by the boss. And they had an inkling that it was a red doing task. But the way they were talking about it didn't suggest they did think it was worth doing. And so I said, do you believe that doing it would be a waste of time? And they said, yeah. And I said, well then, let's come on to the next one. That's brown, that's floating. And what was really interesting is that they were not telling the CEO what was going on. They were keeping it amongst themselves and kind of just saying, we just don't think we should be doing this, and kind of almost begrudgingly moving slightly towards doing it, but really delaying. Not purposefully, it's just naturally what happens when you're not completely committed to a task. And so I said, look, here's the thing. Your boss has done a diary detox. He understands all the categories. He understands what floating means. Floating is not a judgmental statement. It's basically saying we don't know what value this adds. So at the end of the session, the CEO came down and said, look, how did it all go? And one of the execs put their hand up and said, well, I didn't actually put their hand up, that's a school thing. But they stood up and said, this is what we think about this particular task. We think it's floating. And the CEO didn't react badly at all. He just said, really, why? Why do you think it's floating? So you're saying it doesn't add value? And they said, yeah. And he said, well, this is the value it adds. Now, should they have known that value beforehand when they were given the task? Yeah, probably, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you can have the dialogue and find a way of having it in a non-emotional way, then we're all good. So what he did then is he told them what he was going to use it for. And at that point, they realized it wasn't brown, it was actually red. But what he did say is, while you've been in here, I've actually been upstairs. I've done a bit of green thinking. I've done some communicating with the company upstairs, new people, new information. And I've decided to make a change, improving, green, that will mean you'll never have to do it again once you've done it this time. At which point the demeanor in the room changed. They went, oh, right, okay. So it is something we really should do, but we're never gonna have to do it again. Fine, we'll get it done. Complete agreement, non-emotional conversation. So while we look at brown floating activities and we would look at them and say, well, okay, they're probably not great, they can be used to your advantage if you understand them and you have a non-emotional way of talking about them. So floating, well, not floating behavior doesn't work, but knowing about floating behavior and having a way of discussing it does work. That's it for the rest of this week. I'll be talking more on Monday. If you want to find out any more, go to diarydetox.com. Have a great day. Have a great weekend.